All right, we are live, Gateway family. I'm Dr. Wall with Gateway Chiropractic. We're so excited for you to be online with us, watching our big Nutrition 101 class. Just a couple of minutes, we're going to have people kind of chiming in and getting on as we kind of get this party started here. I'm so excited to be live with you guys. If you're just getting on, you might saw what I wrote in the comments. Just let us know you're on live with us. We love knowing who's watching these things, and it's an amazing thing to be able to do this. And as you can see, I'm actually not in the office right now. I'm actually at my house doing this one today. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I'll tell you this, as we do this, just know Brandon, Destiny, Dr. Carter, they're actually finishing up in the office. They're still at the office. They're watching this with you guys, and they're just like a normal virtual class. They're ready to help answer any questions you have or any orders that you want to do. They're still at the office. They'll be there the whole time today to help you guys. So again, the only thing that changes is my location, but that's the benefit of virtual classes. I can do them anywhere, which is kind of neat. So hopefully we have a lot of fun today. We're going to learn a lot. And when it comes to nutrition, this is going to be one of those topics that we don't want to make it too complicated. And I mean that in a loving way, because, I feel like we're in a time or an era where, there's so many gurus and experts on nutrition. You watch one video, it's like, do all of this, you can't do any of this, like at all. And then you watch a different video, it's the complete opposite information. So we get paralyzed, or they call it paralysis by analysis. There's just so much stuff out there that it's confusing. Where do I start? That's one of the big questions I got from a lot of you that have been talking to me, in a couple of weeks leading up to this. Where do I start, Dr. Wall? Like, where do I start with nutrition? Like, I want to start making the right changes, but I don't know where to start. And it's so overwhelming, so confusing. We're going to make that one pretty easy to understand today, but there are some rules. And I'll say this when I kind of from the start, the more I dive into nutrition, the more that I learn. I'm kind of coming to this point where there are certain rules we want to follow that will put you in the driver's seat to better health. And that's kind of what we want to focus in on today. Do I think there's one diet for everybody? I do not. I think there's seasons of nutrition. Absolutely. I'm starting to think about that a lot more lately, even with my life. But I do think there are some big standards that if we follow those, we're going to be doing really well with our nutrition, and it's going to really change our life. Because that's kind of the point of what we're talking about here. We want to see big changes, and it could be, we need to lose some weight. But I would hope that your why behind wanting to lose weight is bigger than just losing a few pounds. It needs to be like, like I'm on 6 different medications. I need to get off this stuff. And I know that if I lose weight and I start putting better stuff in my body should start to respond and work better, because that's how we're designed. You would be amazed at how much we trash our bodies. And as we kind of get into this, you'll kind of see that. I say, hopefully lovingly, we'll see that, because we've all done it. I have too. I mean, if you saw me in undergrad, if you saw me when I was playing football at Pine Bluff, or when I was in high school, it's embarrassing to talk about how bad I ate, and I just ate terribly. And so what you start to realize pretty quick is, as a country, our country, we don't have a food problem. Like, we don't have a lack of food. We eat more than any other country in the world. But what's funny is we're also the most obese. We have the most obese kids. These are terrible statistics. We're going to be almost 1 in 2 people obese in the next 10 years. That's staggering. Half our country is already like heading to that state. So if you think about it, why is that sad? Because we have all the nutrition, like I said, gurus. We have all the books. We have all the different gyms. We have all the niche gyms. We have the niche nutrition plans and everything. But we're still getting more obese. We're on more medications. We're not doing the right stuff, clearly. And so what I think you're going to find out here is we are overfed, yes, but we are malnourished. We are undernourished. We do not get the right amount of proteins, fats, and carbs, and we definitely don't get the right amount of vitamins and minerals. So when you do that for years, right? When you do it for years, like a lot of us have, a lot of you watching have done this, that's when you start to, okay, I'm gaining weight. What's going on wrong? Hormones are affected now. Now you're chronically inflamed. Now you got disease-causing stuff going on. Can it be reversed? Yes, it can. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes discipline. But if you're wanting to do it, if you're at that point where you're like, I need to make some changes, I promise you, we're going to link you up with some great things to do. I'm going to give you some websites. I'm going to give you some apps to use. It's going to be an amazing thing. So you guys, hopefully you're excited because we're making it pretty easy. And other exciting news as we get into this, a lot of stuff has changed with supplements. So we always talk about supplementing good nutrition. So you eat better first, then we add in obviously supplements because we haven't eaten for years very well. We got very deficient in some key vitamins and minerals. So we want to supplement that to bridge gaps. So the way we approach nutrition is very different than what you might be used to. It's not just to treat a symptom. It's to put stuff in our body that it craves, that it's deficient and low in. And because we do that, our body's going to work like God designed it to work. Like it's going to work like it's designed at optimal health. Like we want to get us, and I want to get you guys patients to optimal health, as good as we can get. That's always our goal with you guys. And so I'm going to pop into presentation mode, but a couple things here. Number one, when I go to presentation mode, I can't see the comments, but still comment. Like, please still comment. Like we love that. And if you have questions, you probably will put those in the comments. When I get out of the presentation mode here, I'm going to read the questions and we're going to answer this. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of this. And so I always say, like, there's never a bad question. And if you're wanting to ask a question, but you're kind of nervous, don't be nervous. Ask the question. I'll do my best to answer it. Like I said, I definitely don't pretend to know everything, but I do know a lot. I'll answer it in the best way I can for you and with love and respect. But the thing is, if you're thinking about asking a question, but you're kind of nervous, just know half the people watching have the same question you do. They're also not going to ask because they're nervous. So again, go on and ask it. Like I said, we'll have fun here as well. Also, we speak to different groups when we do a live stream. Those of you watching live, we love that because you can ask questions. We can interact a lot better that way. But we have people watching. This will save in about 5 minutes once we're done. So if you're a big note taker and you get mad at me because I go through a slide pretty quick, it's not to be mad, but I love you. You can go back and rewatch this on YouTube or Facebook, however you're watching these things, and get the notes as many times as you need to. So again, it saves. You can rewatch this stuff. We'll be playing it in the office as well next week. Also, those of you that are first timers, if you're a first timer, let us know. I mean, that's such a thrill for us, new people watching these things and learning with us, part of the family you guys are. If you're not even a patient in my office, because about 90% of the people watching are patients, but we don't want to leave out the people that aren't patients. So if you're not a patient, let us know. If you're in this Fort Worth area, there's going to be some things we want you to do that's going to help you with getting to a better state of health. But even with the nutrition, there's some things we're going to talk about. Some of our line, we have quite a bit in our nutrient line, but some big things we're going to talk about today. You can be able to take advantage of that, like our patients already are, with discounts. So we want you to start doing this stuff. We don't want you to have to search for things. And the stuff we're going to talk about is, like I said, second to none. But also, we're going to talk about how your nerves deal a lot with nutrition, especially like absorbing stuff and digesting things properly, and how a lot of people overlook this and they don't know that they have damage to the nerves, and how you can go about getting that checked in our office. We're going to actually present that for you as a guest and welcome you to the family that way. So stay tuned to the end. We got some cool offers for you guys that your guest. But again, everybody's going to benefit from this class, whether you're a patient or a guest. So hopefully you guys are excited. Keep logging in and letting us know you're watching. If you have questions, let us know. But we're going to get into this thing. So I'm going to go into presentation mode here. We'll pop that up and let's get this thing going. There we go. All right. So let me pop up Nutrition 101. There we go. So we want to nourish the body. And again, I kind of always have to talk because we have a lot of new people watching. Just a little bit of my credentials so you guys kind of know who you're listening to and who you're talking to. I'm Dr. Wall, been in practice in Fort Worth, Texas for the last 17 years. It's kind of nuts. It's been that long. It's interesting. It in some ways it flies by very fast. In some ways it feels like it's an eternity. It's funny. A lot of you guys watching that are patients, some of y'all have been with me so long that like we didn't even have kids when you guys started in the office, and I had hair. So we've come a long way. I have an 11 and an 8-year-old. This is Aiden and Shayla. It's my wife, Shanna. And so thankful they're letting me do this thing from the house. That's kind of cool, right? But at the same time, I have 4 degrees in health. I learned a lot early. So when I started practice at 26, I already had 4 degrees in health. So my bachelor's, my undergrad was biology pre-medicine. I wanted to be a surgeon. I know, funny, the completely different route that took for me, but that's why I went to pre-medicine. But at Parker College, I got my anatomy degree and my health and wellness degree while getting my doctorate in chiropractic. And for about 10 years, I hosted with Dr. Hooten, who's in Dallas, still practicing there. But we had a radio show. It's a call-in show on 100.7 FM. It's a Christian talk station in DFW. And it was called Maximize Living Radio. We would take people's phone calls and we would just answer questions about how to get healthy, how to get healthy so you don't take all the meds or have those surgeries, and really, enhance your health with chiropractic care. And loved it. Now we do, we kind of stopped that during COVID, and we kind of do now a little bit more like Facebook and Instagram. I even think we have a TikTok. I don't, it's not me, but I guess we have one. But it's funny how that's people are getting to know us that way too. So a little bit about me, just kind of where we get into this. But when it comes to our nutrition, I think a self-check is wise. That's important. How much, let me pop this up here a little bit bigger. There we go. Now you guys can see it a lot better. How much time do you spend on the food you eat, and how much time do you spend on the food your family eats? I think that's really important. This is a good starting point for us, because if your nutrition is important to you, but we look at your grocery receipts, right? And those have been fun the last few years, right? A lot higher. But we look at your grocery receipt. Is that going to match up? Like, is what you're buying nutritious, or is what you're buying, not nutritious? Is what you're buying junk food? And if we're honest with ourselves, this is where we want to start with nutrition. How are we valuing this? How are we valuing what our kids eat? My kids are at the ages now where, like, they ask questions, and they're noticing that, they eat stuff that their friends don't eat, and their friends are eating stuff that they have never had. And that's actually very challenging for Shanna and me, because we don't want to never allow them to be a kid and have a piece of birthday cake or something like that. Like we never want that. But it is tough, because we know that those aren't the most healthy foods. And if we're not cautious about it, they can eat a lot of bad stuff, and they can do what Shanna and me did, which is, I'll speak for myself. I think Shanna probably ate better than I did growing up. I ate awful growing up. And I loved sweets, and I still do. And it's hard to break the habit. So you can get addicted to a lot of these foods, and you'll learn here that food manufacturers, they want you addicted to their food. So they put a lot of chemicals and a lot of sugar and a lot of bad oils so that you crave it. That it's evil genius. But that's what they do. So the less stuff that you can do, the earlier is the better. That's the best approach. So we now talk to the kids a lot more about why we're not eating this, or if we have that, that piece of cake, or that, or that's, it's kind of the big thing, or that ice cream, and their stomach feels kind of blah, because that usually happens. It's like a teaching moment. Like, so here's why your stomach doesn't feel good. You had this, and it has a lot of sugar in it. So that's why we don't eat that very often. And so I feel like that's a pretty good approach for us. But if you guys have other good ideas on this, let me know, because I'm learning with you. Like, it is getting to, this is a point that I've never been in, where my kids, they're not just saying, okay, they're questioning daddy and mommy a lot on nutrition, but how are we valuing that? Like, are we making that priority with our family? Because I'll tell you, that's one of the best blessings you can do, is create those habits now, earlier the better, because as your kids grow up, that's just all they're going to know. And they won't want to do all the other stuff that's available to them when they leave the nest. So that's big. We got to start with nutrition. And like I said, there's not a one size fits all plan. I don't think there's just that universal thing for everybody. I think we're all a little bit individual. I do think there's some guidelines that are just, you're going to be so much better following this than if you don't. And these are kind of the 3 things we really want to hammer into you. Right now, Americans, especially Americans, because we're different than other countries. Remember, we lead the world in obesity. We lead the world in obese kids. We're on the most medications. We have the most chronic illnesses with children. Over 50% of our kids live with chronic illness, meaning they take a stinking medication every day because of a chronic problem. Now think about that. That's scary. And we aren't, so basically what that means, if you think about stuff long-term, I saw this population report that's kind of worried me about our country is we're not having enough babies. I know that's an interesting like nutrition, but think about this. So we're not having enough people like babies right now. We've had decrease in birth rate, which is not good for a country to sustain itself. But at the rate we're going with nutrition and disease and medications and stuff that this country's going through, like it's bad, guys. We're going to have way more people in assisted living and nursing homes and requiring, around the clock care. We're going to have more dementia and Alzheimer's patients than ever this way. We're going to have more people that can't take care of themselves. But because we're not having enough kids, we're not going to have that generation is not going to, the doctors and the nurses of tomorrow, we're not going to have enough of them to actually take care of us. That's scary to me. So like, it's one of those things where can we make changes now with the kids so that they are in a better state of health and we kind of break that cycle. So we take in way too much sugar. That's a given. But how much, Dr. Wall, do we really take? Like, I don't have the white stuff very often. Yes, you do. It's hidden in other foods. So a third of the sugar you get is coming from your drinks. If you like to have some alcohol at night, loaded with sugar. If you like to have a juice, super high in sugar, so you drink soda, super high. So a third of our sugar is coming from what we drink. Just think about that. So one great change you can make, eliminate all the sugar, at least a third of it, from just drinking water. Drink water, or some unsweet tea, stuff like that. But the other thing is we got way too many toxins in our food. So our food is not food anymore. Food is more frankenfood and chemical food and stuff that's boxed and processed. The more ingredients in your food, the worse it is for you. So that's kind of like these are really common sense rules that we don't think about. Right? We always look for like, oh, that's gluten-free. Oh, that's, that's low fat or that's, and we're going to talk about that and why that's a big problem. But we look at that stuff on the box. You need to look on the back. What's all the ingredients this thing has in it? And you'll be shocked how much sugar and chemicals are in that stuff to keep it on the shelf for a year or two. So you got to think that way. We want to have foods like fruits and vegetables or clean meats that have they have no labels. It's like one ingredient, like apple. That's what we want. Hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to have some fun with this. So forgive me. I like to laugh and joke a little bit as we do these. But I think that helps. And I think you guys are used to me by now. So if you're not, sorry, but we're going to have some fun here. And then we don't have enough fat. This is the number one deficiency of Americans is we don't get enough healthy fat. And that's a shame because it is really hurting our country. And it's creating some massive problems with heart disease, with cancer, with diabetes, with inflammation, with weight. You're going to be amazed. So out of this, you're going to be going, wow, I don't put enough fat into my body on a daily basis. I need to increase that. So it's going to be a good thing, guys. I promise you. Okay. So as we get through this, we got mental barriers to break through. You guys have a lot of them. So do I just some of the big ones is, so it's going to cost too much to eat well. How about that? That's a big mental barrier. And out of all the times that I've been alive, I would say I relate to that one a lot right now because your grocery bills are like 40% higher than they were just a few years ago before COVID. So I relate to that. But here's the thing when it comes to nutrition. Yes, you'll be going to the grocery store more. You might have a higher grocery bill. But on the other end of this, think about how much it costs to be a diabetic patient, how much it costs to go to the ERs because you're having insulin issues, how much it costs to have a surgery to remove, fat from the body or a bariatric surgery. How much does it cost to have a heart attack, survive it, but have, valve, surgery or a pacemaker installed? The stays. You guys get what I'm saying? You're talking about tens of thousands, if not $100,000 through the life of dealing with the disease versus, an extra $100 for groceries every 2 weeks. So when you think about it, big picture, it's not such a big mental barrier. But the other thing I would say too is if you're eating more good stuff and you're making more stuff from the house, you're not going to be going out to eat as much. And I will tell you that has gotten just really crazy. Typically, my wife, me, and my kids going out to a decent restaurant to eat. Yeah, I'm expecting like it's going to be like $50, $60, and then to do a tip. But now it's like $90 plus a tip. So like you going out to eat a couple times, you're just not going to do that. You'll be investing that into better food that you're making from the house. And again, you will save money by not eating out as much. So just there's some mental things we want to break through. As a matter of that, we have a lot of myths we want to bust. We're going to break through a lot of these mental barriers. So here's a myth right here, because there's going to be a couple people watching, maybe not patients, but for sure there'll be some guests watching. They're going to go, well, it doesn't matter what I eat. I've tried all the different diets. It's my genes. My mom was overweight. My dad was overweight. My grandpa was overweight. My great grandpa in the war was obese and overweight. So I'm going to have, that issue myself. And that is such a false a narrative. And it's really a self-sabotage. If you really believe that, think about this. Our genes, just as humans, they haven't changed since Adam. And so we all have the same genes. They've actually proven this. So if you've ever heard of like the blue zones, or if you've heard of different cultures that live to be 100, for some reason they have more, like they're called centenarians. There are like the Okinawans, for instance, in Okinawa, Japan, they have one of the highest concentrations of people over 100 years old than anywhere else in the world. There's a few others, they call them blue zones. So they look at these people and they're like, okay, why do they live so long? Well, they look at different factors. They look at, diet, they look at their exercise, and most of them, they don't have a lot of unhealthy fats. They typically get a lot of healthy fat. They are exercising all the time. And it's not like they're in the gym. They're just, they're walking up and down mountains. They're climbing trees. It's crazy what they do. But they're very active all the way up until they pass on. They stay active. But they also looked at their genes. They're like, well, they got to have super genes. They're living longer than everybody else. Well, they look, and all these blue zone groups, they got the same amount of genetics that we do. They have the same high risk genes for like heart, disease or cancer. Yet they have substantially less heart disease and cancer than other populations. Well, so the genes didn't change. So there's something called epigenetics. This is something that is within the last 20 years. So it's still new and according to science, but epigenetics is higher than genetics. So essentially your genes, they can turn on if you're doing a certain lifestyles, if you're not taking care of yourself. But those same genes can turn off if your lifestyle is healthy. So it's your lifestyle dictates your genetic expression. And this is something that, again, scientists, they're pretty uniform in this. Your lifestyle can turn on or off your genes. So don't fear if you have bad genes. If everybody in your family had a heart attack, that doesn't mean you are going to. Now, if you do the exact same stuff or the same lifestyle that everybody in your family line had, and they all had heart attacks, you do have a risk of having that happen. But if you can completely change, do something very different with your health and your life, you won't have that. You can reduce your risk tremendously. So again, we talk about changing lifestyle, that changes your genetic expression. And so that kind of falls into this slide too. Like 90% of Americans have diseases that are caused by lifestyle habits. So we lifestyle ourselves into disease. And it's really tough. It's tough to admit that. The digestive problems that I had and the immune problems I had, it wasn't bad luck. It was my lifestyle. I grew up very medical minded. I took a ton of shots and vaccines, and I would always get sick after taking the shots. So I had about every single childhood disease that I was vaccinated for, except German measles. I had everything else. And then on top of that, I ate terrible. I exercised a lot, which was great, but I took a lot of medications because I had asthma. I had really bad asthma growing up. So I was always sick. When you start changing your lifestyle, and that's something that I started really doing in my early 20s, I started noticing that these problems that I had had for 2 decades were starting to get better and less extreme and less debilitating to me, to the point where I run and I do, I used to do a lot of triathlons, a lot of endurance sports. I couldn't dream of doing that. I remember this still in college. I had an inhaler. I had my breathing machine, because even though I was in pretty good shape, I still had very weak lungs. I would always have attacks and asthma problems and wheezing whenever the seasons changed in Arkansas. So these are things that can get better if you change your lifestyle. And a good way to do this is like, it's a good quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson is, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you say. And that's kind of big. So we learned that. I think if you have kids, you start learning that one really well. It's not really as much what you say. It's your actions. That's what your kids pay attention to. So we want to really work on our actions when it comes to lifestyle change. Oh, another myth. Oh, I love to bust this one up. So the counting calorie myth. I used to do this, guys. I did this. I did this in high school when I was trying to drop weight. I counted my calories, man. And it's not where it's at. The counting calories is an effective way to healthy nutrition. That is false. That's a big problem. I know a lot of people do it. There might be some of you that do this right now that are going, oh no, he's ruffling my feathers. No, you can't speak about the calories. You can't speak about my points. I understand. I did it too. But here's an example. Okay. So you have two different food groups here. We have now again, it's hard. I couldn't find a 4-ounce steak picture. But this is just a T-bone steak, but a 4-ounce steak, right, has about 200 calories in it. And then on the right, one Twinkie, do they still make Twinkies? But a Twinkie is about 150 calories. So the Twinkie technically is less calories. So if we're going based off calories, that Twinkie is going to be healthier than a 4-ounce piece of grass-fed steak. And it couldn't be further from the truth. That grass-fed steak, I just wanted you to understand this. That grass-fed steak is probably one of the most nutrient-dense foods on this planet. Why? Because it's got a complete branched-chain amino acid profile. If it's fully grass-fed, it's going to have a high omega-3 content in it. It's going to have a good amount of iron. It's going to have a lot of B vitamins in it. It's going to have a lot of protein. It's going to have a lot of healthy fat. And it's going to have 0 carbohydrates in it. That Twinkie is all carbs. It's all chemicals. And it's all sugar and corn syrup. If you look on the back of the ingredient list, the steak, it's going to say beef. On the back of the Twinkie, it's a science experiment, but it's less calories. You guys see the difference? We can't go based off that. So what's cool about the recipes, the nutrition we're talking about is you don't have to count the calories. No, your body knows what it needs to do with actual food, and it doesn't know what to do with chemicals or fake food. And your body will store that Twinkie in your fat cells, and it'll spike your blood sugar. It's going to have a hard time to detox that. You'll feel in about 30 minutes or an hour, you're going to be starving after eating that Twinkie. You eat that 4-ounce piece of steak, you're going to be good for a while because it fills you up. It takes a while to break that down, and your body uses all of that stuff. Your body goes, what the heck is this Twinkie thing you got in me? And it has to try to store some of these chemicals, but it stores things in fat cells. So the calorie myth, hopefully I blew that one out of the water. It's not about calories. It's about quality, satiation, so being full, nutrient-dense foods, right? We stick to what we're programmed to eat. We're going to be in a way better condition than this stuff we were never designed to put in our bodies. And the sugar's in everything. So you're thinking, well, I don't eat Twinkies, Dr. Wall. I don't eat cake. I don't eat candy. And that's great if you don't. But it's in everything. Sugar is in your pasta. It's in your pasta sauces. Anything like your pasta pieces, high in carbs, high in wheat, turn into sugar very fast. It's in your sandwiches. It's in your bread. It's in your pizza. It's in your canned foods, your ketchups, your mayo, your pizza sauces, salad dressings. If you go and see how much sugar is in your salad dressing, you'll freak out. Crackers, fruit drinks, yogurt, snacks, breads. Gosh, there's so much stuff that sugar is in. So it's everywhere. And in a lot of the processed foods, it's not just one thing. You'll have 3, 4, 5 different forms of sugar. So that you'll have like corn syrup, you'll have cane sugar, you'll have maltodextrin, you'll have glucose syrup, you'll have all these weird things. All of those are sugars. So you get a hit to the pancreas, a hit to the insulin, a hit to your blood sugar. These aren't good things to do long term. Now, again, when I talk about this, let me kind of back up for just a quick second. This isn't to say that you can never have a piece of birthday cake, or you can't ever have, a piece of, a deal of ice cream for a celebration. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not the food Nazi here. But understand, if every once in a while, your body can process that stuff out. That's not what we do. We don't do that in America. We'll eat a ton of this stuff. We'll eat it every day, and we'll do this for years. Yeah, you can't do that. Your body will start to freak out and kind of revolt on you, and you start to see problems happen. So with sugar, and this helps me, how do you still get a little bit of the sweet fix but not have all the sugar, right? So there's some ways. There's some natural plant-based sweeteners, stevia, erythritol, xylitol, that you can use as a substitute. I will say, if you like to bake, use erythritol, because that's there's a brand called Swerve. That's what it is erythritol. So it doesn't spike your blood sugar, doesn't spike your insulin, does none of that, and it's very low GI, but it measures like sugar does. So if you have a cup of sugar in a recipe, you do a cup of erythritol, and it's going to taste really good that way. But for me, I use stevia. I have some iced tea here. And so I use stevia liquid droppers, just organic stevia in my iced tea. It's great. I grew up in the South. I don't know if all you guys did, but I think if you did, either your mom or your grandma made sweet tea. Let me know if you had a mom or grandma that made sweet tea. My mom was the queen of sweet tea, and it's no wonder I love sweets, and I just grew up loving sweets. My mom would take, those big old brown pitchers from the 80s. Those everybody had one of these from the 80s or 70s. Those big old brown pitchers, huge. My mom would brew her own tea, but she would put a bag of sugar, like a full bag, in that. I swear that it must have been about like that thick of sugar, and then she just mix that tea in. Holy cow, that would amazing memories that tea has. Now, I like sweet tea because I grew up destroying that in having all that sugar, but it creates a habit. So with my kids, if they want something like tea or something, we'll do stevia in it, and you just have to kind of work with that. But there's natural ways around that. But yeah, sweet tea, my goodness, we're in the South, man. How do we do that? You got to have your sweet tea, but we can make it a little healthier, right? No calories, no spike in the blood sugar. That's important. Another myth, and this one is the one that's going to hurt the most, because especially if you have like heart disease, you have blood sugar issues, if you have high cholesterol, you're going to have to hear me say this a lot. And you're going to have to look this stuff up on your own. The myth is fat's unhealthy. Fat makes you fat. Fat's going to cause you to have a heart attack. That is all garbage. That is all untrue, not proven. And what's really sad about that is that it's the opposite of truth. Like, it's not just that that's wrong. We need so much fat to function. We need more fat. You and I need more fat than we realize. And we don't put enough in on a daily basis. Here's why we need fat. I'm going to talk about cholesterol in a minute as well. But fat, that's what lines your cells, is fat. It's called a lipid bilayer. That's fat. And it's what keeps, it brings nutrients into your cells, and it releases the junk out into your body so you can get rid of it. That's what your fat layer of your cells do. Remember, we're composed of cells, 70 trillion, give or take. That we need fat. Our brain is 2/3 fat. Our nerves are lined, like I'm a corrective chiropractor. We deal with getting the nerves to work better through proper adjustments and rehab. But the nerves themselves are lined with myelin, which is a fat layer. And what myelin does, it helps the nerves signal like your heart better, or your lungs, or your colon better, everything in your body. It signals faster because of fat. You need fat. And in one of the worst things our country did, you want to know when there's been some key moments in our history where heart disease went through the roof. One of them was in the 70s and 80s when fat became the enemy of heart disease. And then we went from eating things like with lard and butter and real butter and stuff like that to the fake stuff, the hydrogenated, the margarines, the synthetic seed oils, the synthetic butters. And we started consuming foods that contained that. Our heart disease went through the stinking roof. Now you'll see, like, if you look at people, we lead the world in heart disease. It's insane. It's 1 in 2 people are going to die from a heart issue as they age, according to the stats in our country. So, and you think about all this stuff we're trying to do now, all these foods that are supposed to be healthy for us, and our heart disease numbers are the worst it's ever been. Clearly something's not working. So where do we look for this? You got to get a lot of fat in your body. You got to do it daily. You just do. We are designed for it. Your body will thrive on it. Plus, if you're trying to lose weight, this is a hard one. You're not going to want to do fat because you're going to think fat makes you fat. No, it does not. Your body will take fat in and it will help your body burn it better. It does. When you deny your body fat, your body goes into fat starvation mode. And your body, again, remember, we're talking about thousands of years of our genetics. Those kick in like you're in a famine, like there's no food. If you're not putting fat in your body's like, okay, there's no fat. I'm going to hang on to everything. So it feels like your body's starving, even though you might be eating a lot of food, but you're not eating enough fat. That's signaling your brain going, I need fat. Like I got to eat more. I got to eat more. And I can't burn this because I don't know when my next meal's coming. Like your body's, primordial urge is to have fat. It is. I know this one's hard. That's why I'm spending a bit of time on the fats here. So there's good and bad. Yeah, if you eat a lot of the seed oils, the hydrogenated oils, the trans fats, the rancid vegetable oils. So this is the stuff that you've been told is healthy. Canola, not healthy. Vegetable oils, not healthy. Corn, peanut oil, not healthy. Margarine, I can't believe it's not butter. Those are not healthy synthetic oils. None of that. Cotton, soybean oil, none of that stuff is good. When you heat it up, when it's in your foods, they are pro-inflammatory oils. They promote inflammation in your body. That's not what we want. Now, I'll tell you, the root cause of heart disease, and the research is really leaning this way, is oxidation. It's inflammation. The root cause of a lot of diseases is inflammation. So when we put, and if you'll be amazed, the foods you eat, look at how they're made, look at the oils that are in the food. They're mostly this bad stuff. Why? Because they're shelf sustainable. They'll last longer on the shelves. That's why they put them in there. 2, they're cheap to make. But when you heat these things up, they denature your food. They create inflammation, and they're high in omega-6 oils. We don't want that. Omega-6 is inflammatory. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. That's what we want. That's why we want to be eating foods that have a lot of these good fats. So essentially, they're not altered by man. They're God fats. They're the stuff that's just in this most natural form. Man screws everything up, right? I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but man messes stuff up like on a daily basis. It's our human nature. But olive oil, avocados, anything from an avocado oil, coconut, anything from a coconut oil, real butter, grass-fed, raw butter, raw cheese, raw yogurt, grass-fed meats, eggs, whole fat milk, fatty fish, sustainable, the meats, we're going to talk about that, sustainable. But the reason these are so important, all of these are extremely high in omega-3 fatty acids. We need that. Omega-3 is what's anti-inflammatory to your body. Plus, again, with saturated fat, you're talking saturated fat has so many benefits to your body. And I know this is hard to hear, but saturated fat is good for your cells. Saturated fat is an anti-plaquing agent. It's good for your heart. Saturated fat is good for your heart. It's heart healthy. I know you were told it's not. It is. It's good for your teeth. It helps not form plaque in your teeth. The same thing is in your arteries. It helps not form to bust up the plaque. It's a great thing, and you need saturated fat. And again, my wife and me, we've changed just like I've looked at a lot of new research on just the saturated fat, and I realized pretty quick I'm not getting enough myself. Even after all these years of teaching, I'm just not getting enough. And so now Shanna and me, for Memorial Weekend, so it's pretty still recent. We've been upping a lot of fat. Like it's kind of interesting because I'm eating more fat. I'm actually eating more meat than I ever have. And it's not to say that this is the only way. It's just what I'm learning about how I've haven't had enough for a lot of years. I need to start replenishing things. So one of the big myths when it comes to meat, and again, you look this stuff up, it's kind of interesting. The origins of things like meat being bad for you, the food pyramid. You look at the origins of these studies, where they came from, who paid for them. You start to realize that this is tobacco science. This isn't true. So one of the big myths out there with meat is that it causes heart disease, cancer, osteoporosis, and kidney disease, when in fact it's the complete opposite. And again, the source matters. I'm going to talk about that, but just in general, think about this. So thousands of years ago, how do we get food? How do we get food? How did whether you believe one way or another of how we came into existence, how do we get food? Right? Oh, well, we were farming. We didn't start off farming. We're called hunter-gatherers for a reason, and the hunter part is the first part for a reason. We hunted food. That's how we got our food. That's how we got our healthy fat. And we would go through famines, and when we weren't able to hunt really good, we would eat some plants to sustain us for that until we found something else that we could eat. So a lot of people kind of don't understand history of this. But then the other thing is they think it's just all bad. Again, the research out there is bad. I would say with this, whether you're vegetarian or if you're like full-on carnivore, they're more close together than they are opposite. And I know that sounds completely opposite, but it's really true, because to be a vegetarian or a vegan or to be a full-on carnivore, you got to have a lot of discipline. You do. You got in both groups. So I applaud both. You got to have a lot of discipline. The other thing is both groups, you really watch the seed oils, the hydrogen, all the unhealthy fats. Both groups will really pay attention to that. And so that, I think, is really the bigger cause of the cancer and heart disease, from what I'm reading, what I'm learning, is these seed oils. They are so inflammatory to the body. But if you have good sources of this, of meat, it's actually very healthy for your body. Your body loves it. Like I said, it's one of the most, it gets a lot of slack, but like a grass-fed steak is literally the most nutrient-dense thing on the planet. It just is. When you look at what's in it, you would have to eat 3-4 times as much plant food to get that same stuff in just a 6-ounce piece of grass-fed steak. Not to say that the plant stuff's bad. You just have to eat more of it. I guess that's my point. So it's like there's good in both. Like I said, it's just my wife and me, we're actually changing a lot. My meat consumption went down a lot. My wife back in 2018 became a vegetarian. Outside of having some eggs every now and then, that she never had meat. So with me, my meat consumption tanked a lot. I stopped eating a lot of it as well, unless we went out to eat. And so we made some changes with that. So my wife now, we've upped hers quite a bit. It took a while, because when you don't eat meat for a while, and then you have to reintroduce it to your body slowly, because your body doesn't make the enzymes, it stops doing it to process it. So it's been a challenge, but now she's doing really good, and she can actually have some steak now and not upset her like it was doing just a month ago. So with me, I'm upping a lot. I'm about 80% meat or animal based. I do still have some vegetables. I try to get as low oxalate vegetables as I can. Some of my favorite foods that I used to eat, vegetables, are very high in oxalates. So that's another discussion for another time, but it's changed a lot. And with that being said, I've seen some really great change with me, with how I look, with how I feel, with how my brain is. upping my fat content has helped tremendously. Now, there are problems with meat, just like there's problems with vegetables and fruits. There are. You have to be aware of this stuff. So with meat, you have to. It's how it's grown, how it's sustained, how you feed it. You are what you eat, but you are what you eat. What they ate, that makes a difference. So if you're going the conventional route, if you're just cost over quality, you'll get into this problem where, cows should have, your beef, that's a cow, it should be eating grass, it should be eating hay or some forage when it's snowing, and that's it. They're able to handle eating grass. They have 4 stomachs. They can digest that really well. So you want grass-fed when it comes to your beef, like fully, not grass-fed, then grain finished, fully grass-fed, no hormones, no antibiotics. And you'll notice conventionally, when they're on a feedlot, they're not out in the pasture being a cow, when they're in just a feedlot, it's disgusting. And also when they're in a feedlot, they get sick. They're given antibiotics, they're given hormones to get bigger. They fatten them up on the feed. They give them, corn or GMO corn or chemically sprayed grain to fatten them up. So that, yes, that is not healthy meat. That's stuff I wouldn't eat. I want grass. I want how it's designed to do. And also the differences are vast when it comes to healthy fats in the meat. Very big difference. Same thing with chickens. You want them pasture raised, out there being chickens. You want them in a cage. You want them under UV light. You want them pasture raised. You want them eating, just foraging around. You don't feed them junk. That's big. Fish, you want them to be wild caught. You would like a little bit more of the fattier fish that's going to have a lot of the omega-3s in them. You don't want them farm raised. That they're fed byproducts when they're doing that. So the sustainability matters. But again, so vegetarians, you're not out of the loop here just because you don't eat meat. Understand this: you got to also pay attention to where your crops are coming from, because it can be just as bad, if not worse, because all the crops, I mean, a lot of them get sprayed with glyphosate. So you got to watch how much chemicals and herbicides and pesticides are sprayed on your crops, because that stuff doesn't come out. You can't wash all of that out, and you're ingesting it. So you can see how toxins are in our food. We got to be aware of it. So if you do eat meat, or if you do eat animals, these are going to be big ones you want to change first: grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, wild-caught fish, natural source dairy, because of the fat content, because of how healthy that meat is. And then also, if you are a vegetarian, we're going to talk about the Dirty Dozen Clean 15. You really want to worry about that and focus on what crops are sprayed, so you get the ones that aren't sprayed. That's just, again, good practice for nutrition. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. Let me know if that's helping a little bit with kind of your preconceived notions of what I was going to talk about today. Here's a myth. And again, history is important to know when it comes to this myth. The food pyramid. Oh, the old food pyramid, right? From high school, from elementary school, where you just have to eat 5 to 8 servings of grains every day for a healthy diet. If you want to get fat, sick, and unhealthy, do that. You follow that food pyramid, you're going to be unhealthy and obese. You will. How did that come to be? Well, when you do a dive into what's the origins of the food pyramid? Well, that was at the 1920s. I think is early. I mean, over 100 years ago. You had Dr. Kellogg, who was one of the big factors of coming up with the food pyramid. Now, who is Dr. Kellogg? Well, you've heard of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Kellogg, all the different cereals out there. That's that guy. So he's the original person that came up with the food pyramid. And with Kellogg, he had some interesting religious beliefs that dictated how he thought everybody should eat. And so his religious belief was vegetarianism, was not to eat meat, not to eat anything sweet, not to eat any chocolate. I mean, nothing. Bland food. He wanted you to eat bland food because he thought if you veered from that and you had like a steak or you had like a piece of chocolate, that was going to be an aphrodisiac to you and it would cause you to sin. So I know a little different, right? But that was the underlying factor towards that push to have tons of grains, tons of bland food, and at the very tippity top, you can have a little bit of meat, a little bit of healthy fat. you need to take that food pyramid and flip it upside down. You'll live longer, you'll live healthier. Just fun, useful, FYI tip. You don't want to have a ton of grains. I know that's hard for people, but just understand the grains, even though there can be benefits to the grains and carbohydrates. The reality is, especially with grains, they are very high in carbohydrates. They will turn into sugar into your body quicker than a piece of chocolate will. They will spike your blood sugar really high. So if you look at the glycemic index, foods that spike your blood sugar fast, wheat bread or white bread, then wheat bread are like number 1 and 2, and then chocolate is on down a little bit, because the bread, the pastas, the rice, the pizzas, the flour, the wheat, that will get into your bloodstream and spike your blood sugar much faster than a piece of chocolate will. So you just got to watch this stuff, right? So knowing history helps with making better decisions moving forward. Where does this stuff start from, right? Here's another one. Cholesterol causes heart disease. Well, food manufacturers have known for years that really sugar is one of the big causes of heart disease, because the overuse of it will lead to inflammation in your body, specifically your arteries, and it will, again, create bad problems with your heart health, even cancer, right? But food companies wanted to change that because they didn't want regulations on making their candies and making their sweet products for people to consume. So they were able to kind of negotiate with the FDA to, let's attack cholesterol, let's attack fat instead of sugar. And with that being said, you had, again, the tobacco science kind of went into effect, and you had the propaganda happen. And then, cholesterol is all of a sudden the bad guy. Cholesterol is not the bad guy. You need cholesterol. Your liver makes 80% of your cholesterol. If it was bad, then, saying, like, why is our body making 80% of it, right? 80% is made. 20% you get maybe from your diet, but it really and truly, what you eat doesn't have a huge effect. Like healthy fat, it's not going to affect your cholesterol, not like you're told it is. So cholesterol is really not the cause of heart disease. It's the oxidation of it, meaning if you're very inflamed, and that means that's what oxidation, acidity, inflammation means the same thing. Inflammation with cholesterol is a bad thing. And here's why. You have carriers of cholesterol. You have HDL lipoproteins. You have LDL lipoproteins, high and low density. So the low density lipoproteins, LDL, that is cholesterol that is taken to areas of inflammation in your body, specifically, also arteries. And then that is designed to repair the damaged lining. It's tissue repair. If you continue to have pro-inflammation in your body's going to continue increasing LDL to repair this stuff. But at some point, it's going to form, like in the arteries especially, it keeps repairing the wall of the arteries, and the damage, it forms like a callus. And then eventually you have so much of the repair that it narrows that artery, then eventually it can occlude it, and then you have a heart attack or a stroke. So yes, with LDL, because your body is so inflamed, that can create a problem, yes. But like triglycerides, that's the stuff you want to pay attention to. If you have very high triglycerides, if your HDL is low, those are warning issues, yes. The LDL is not so much a warning issue as the HDL being low and then your triglycerides being high. Your total cholesterol doesn't factor in too much. And again, I'm kind of, the more I'm reading about this, that number really doesn't concern me like it used to. It's your triglycerides being high. That's a big warning sign. And how do we eliminate that? How do we bring your triglycerides down? How do we bring down LDL and raise HDL? You follow this advanced plan that we're going to talk about, because it's low carb. You go low carb or keto, increase your fat, triglycerides are going to plummet in a good way. Your HDL will increase in a good way, and you're reducing your risk of having a heart attack in the future in a great way. So I know, awesome stuff. But here's cholesterol. What is it? You make hormones from it? Yeah, you make hormones from it. So if you're taking a statin drug that's depleting your cholesterol, that's driving it down, you're going to have hormone problems. You're probably going to have a heart issue, because more people die from heart attacks with low cholesterol than with elevated or high. Yes, that is a fact. Go look it up. It is contrary to what we're being told. And then another thing with cholesterol too, 50%, 60% of breast milk has a high amount of fat, high amount of cholesterol in it. So again, breast milk, the most nutrient dense stuff to give your baby ever, is very high in cholesterol. So again, just food for thought, what you need to know. Here's another myth. The FDA and USDA effectively protect the public from dangerous products. That is a laugh. That's funny. Does anybody after the last 4 years trust the FDA to like look out for our health? I hope you don't. Maybe you're new and you really thought like they have our best interest at heart. They don't. And here's example number 1 of 1,000 of why they don't have our best interest at heart, because the crap that they approve is known to be cancer causing, known to be harmful to our bodies. And what happens is you get these food manufacturers, they pay off the FDA. They do. They pay them. They give them a big donation. They pay them off for the FDA approval. That's just how it is. It's kind of like, it's kind of like the American Heart Association promoting a product. It's because they donated to the American Heart Association, not because that thing is such a great product. The American Heart Association picked them out and was like, we want to promote you. No, it's because whatever it was paid the American Heart Association or the American Diabetic Association to promote their product. That's all that stuff is. It's just, like I said, it's regulation and it's sickening. The FDA has approved genetically modified organisms. So essentially your corn, your soy, your cotton, there's a bunch of other ones, they're doing like beets as well. I think like squash, zucchini, genetically modified. So this is stuff that's not food. It's frankenfood. These are crops that, because they're genetically resistant to pesticides, they get doused with 5 times the amount of pesticides that a regular, corn crop would get. So they're loaded with pesticides. They have built-in insecticides like corn does, Bt toxin. Soy is Roundup Ready soy. So you can spray the soybeans with Roundup. And Roundup, because it's a killer cancer-causing glyphosate ingredient, it kills everything in the soil. It kills the weeds. It kills any grass. But you can spray it on these Roundup Ready soybeans, and it doesn't kill them. They still grow. And so 90% of your soy, 90% of your corn, 90% of the cotton you get, if it's not organic, man, it is GMO. It is sprayed with this stuff and built in with this stuff. But it's all approved by the FDA, right? So it's healthy for you to eat. I don't think so. Pesticides, dangerous additives, hormones, antibiotics are put in the foods. So how do we navigate this one, Dr. Wall? Well, look at the bottom here. I put a couple of apps that'll help you put these are free apps for your phone. We have the Think Dirty app. We have the EWG Healthy Living app. The reason I like these, because you can actually scan food products, and then type in the ingredients. And these apps will tell you, hey, is this a clean product? Or if it's not, it'll tell you this ingredient is not healthy. These are studies of what it does to like mice. And you'll be shocked at what this stuff does in testing that they approve and they put in our food supply. So the best rule of thumb with this stuff is, the less ingredients, the better. But also when it comes to produce, you don't have to get everything organic. A lot you do because they're sprayed. But in each of these apps, they show you the Dirty Dozen and then the Clean 15, which are the Dirty Dozen is the most sprayed crops out there, and that you should get those organic so they don't have all the chemicals on them. But then the Clean 15 are ones that aren't sprayed at all, and they change different seasons. But those are going to be when the Clean 15, you don't have to get them organic because they're not sprayed. So it just helps. Also with the Healthy Living app, you can take this a step further. Look at your products you use for like your skin or your hair or fragrance or ladies' makeup. You can put this stuff in and it'll flag. Be amazed at some of the stuff that's in the makeup of what it does to like your hormone health. So really big things. These are good apps, Think Dirty, and then the EWG Healthy Living app. Another myth I'll point out here is that, eating healthy is so bland, it's so boring, yada, yada. I get that. I understand that. Palate fatigue, all that stuff can make sense. I get it. But what I wanted to do is to give you something just right off the bat here with those apps too. These are recipes on our doctor store. If you type this into your search engine, okay, maxliving.com/category/health-recipes, just you highlight it, put in your search engine, or take a picture with your phone real quick so you can retype it in. I will show this again later in this. Okay, so don't worry. It's not when I switch slides, you're going to see it again, but also you can rewatch this and pause it and just write in your search engine. This will take you to the maxliving.com homepage. And there's over 300 recipes that you can access. And literally step-by-step how to make the stuff. And some are all vegetarian. Some are combinations. Some are, all meat. It helps every type of, lifestyle you have. But again, the way you make these foods, they follow what I'm going to talk about. It's called our advanced eating plan. The advanced plan is important because it's going to be gluten-free. B, it's going to be focused on high fat. We're going to talk about how important fat is. High fat foods, healthy fat, very low carb, low sugar. It's going to have good amounts of protein in it. You're not going to have a lot of grains in it. You're not going to have sugar. You're not going to have a ton of these inflammatory causing foods. And you're going to just see your body really change because you're putting in quality nutrient dense foods in your body. And again, all types of recipes are in this, but that's, again, free. Just check it out, look at it. Copy and paste this if you're watching, online or something. But I'm going to show it again here in a minute. And again, you can come back and rewatch this as well, and type it in. But it's so easy. But there's a ton of recipes you can do and access. We used to have a book called Align Your Health. That they no longer make that book. We've actually sold out of that book completely as of our last workshop. So now you can get these recipes. They're coming out with a new book, I think, the end of September. I'm hoping it comes out then, but there is a new book coming out. But in the meantime, here's recipes. We can make it a lot easier for you guys. So here's another big, belief is, well, I don't need to take any type of supplements, Dr. Wall, because I get adequate amounts of nutrients from my diet. Well, the problem with that is what we talked about. It's not like 100 years ago. Your parents or your grandparents, they got away with this. They could eat an orange and they would have 100% of the vitamin C they needed, for the day, maybe probably a little bit more, and a lot of the other additional vitamins and minerals in that orange. Or they could eat spinach and get the amount of iron that they needed. The problem now is the soil. So we farm a little differently than we did back then. Stuff is laid down on top of one another. There's no resting because, again, you're trying to have bigger yields of crops. And what happens is you're sucking all the nutrients, all the minerals and stuff out of the soil. So now what we grow in that soil is lacking in vitamins and minerals. So here's my point. 50 years ago, you could eat nuts and greens, and get like your calcium. You can get your iron in it. You get 30% less iron in food. They've done a study on 12 different crops. So on average, 30% less calcium is in crops now than it was 50 years ago. I think it's like 50% less iron. 20% less B vitamins are in foods now that are crops than they were years ago. So the reality is we're not getting enough from just the food. And so we have depleted soil. We need to start making some supplement additions to eating well. So here's what I talk about. This isn't just you just take supplements and not eat well. I'm not saying that. I'm still saying yes. You just need to put better food in your body. We got to start with better nutrition. Eating better is priority number one when it comes to nutrition. But number two is because we haven't eaten so good, we get deficient. The big deficiencies, these are the big ones. There's one more I'll talk about too, but these are kind of the 7 biggest deficiencies that I see with people. Calcium is a big one. Calcium, there's so many benefits to doing it, obviously for bone health. Calcium is going to be really big for also if you have a lot of oxalates in your blood. If you're forming stones, if you have a lot of joint issues, Increasing calcium helps because calcium binds to oxalates and gets that out of your body. So calcium's got a lot of functions in it. Obviously you're seeing broccoli, a really good source of calcium there. Vitamin D is a big one. You're seeing a piece of salmon because it's loaded with it. But vitamin D, you can get that plant-based source too from algae. There's a lot of ways to get vitamin D, but we are so deficient in vitamin D, it's nuts. And it's such a big thing. Vitamin D is so big for like your hormones. It's more of a hormone than a vitamin. I'm going to talk about how the functions of it here in just a minute. Iron is big. I'll say this: iron, B12, and folate. If you are a vegan or vegetarian, these are going to be things you'll typically be low in. You'll absolutely need to supplement because you're not going to get enough from your diet. If you eat like steak, grass-fed beef stuff, you'll never be deficient in iron or B vitamins or really folate if you're doing it regularly because it's loaded with those vitamins. Folate's B9. Magnesium, you're seeing in avocado, but magnesium is going to be in nuts and seeds. Magnesium's in meat as well, but also a good plant-based source would be avocados. There's so much magnesium does. Again, it's an essential that we need to be putting in our body daily, like vitamin D and B vitamins. This is stuff that helps our body just function optimally, and we get really deficient. If you sweat a lot, if you're exercising a lot, magnesium is more like an electrolyte, so you get really low in this stuff. I know I've been low in magnesium thinking that I was not, and you're just drained with your energy. So magnesium, brain function has a lot of deals as well too. I would add to that fat, essential fatty acids. So omega-3 fats are the biggest deficiency in Americans. So it's over half our population is deficient omega. We get way too much omega-6 and 9, which promote inflammation. We get very little omega-3 from the standard American diet because of all the processed foods and stuff that we eat. And when we get low in omega-3, we become very inflamed. So that can affect your joints, that can affect your arteries, that can affect your muscles and tissues. That chronic inflammation is everywhere. Your brain, if you don't have enough omega-3s in your body, like your brain gets inflamed from that. Your brain likes omega-3 fats. So those are big ones. So we supplement, and like I said, hopefully I'm making sense with how we supplement. It's not just to treat a disease. This is to treat deficiencies. And based on how we've lived our lives, we have 5 big ones we're going to talk about that are just, we call them the daily essentials. This is stuff these are just what we do to supplement optimal function. But also, like, is your supplements causing you problems because it's a bad supplement? That's a big real issue. A lot of people think that, the cheapest stuff they can get at Walmart or at Rite Aid, or is there Eckerd's anymore? But, Walgreens or CVS, GNC or GNC labs. We think that, like, it's funny. Where else, let's just take away the supplement part. Where else do you look for the cheapest thing possible and think that's going to be the best thing possible for you? And I don't say this as an arrogance thing, but just like when I went to a historically Black college. I went to Arkansas Pine Bluff for 4.5 years, and when I was there, so everybody had these speaker systems in their cars. So I remember I wanted my own. I wanted subwoofers in my Cutlass Sierra. I wanted to be cool at the time. And so I the first time I did this, I went for price over quality, and I got some very cheap subwoofers in my car, and it didn't even last a month. Everything blew. I had to rip that stuff out, and then I had to go spend more money on really nice subwoofers. But that is what I needed in the first place, was the nice ones that worked, and they worked for years. But it's like I had to realize that what I got, because it was cheap, it performed cheap. Like, it blew up in my car, and the stuff that was high quality did its job until I sold my car. So it's kind of like that. Hopefully that's a weird relation, but maybe that relates to some of you with supplements. If you're taking something that's just based on it's cheap, I will tell you how it's made is cheap. The way they make the price point cheap is how they manufacture it. It's cheap. It's not done in a GMP NSF certified facility. It's definitely not done with probably in the USA. Also, the quality of the ingredients are cheap. Understand that's how they can make it cheap. So when you put all that in your body, you don't absorb anything of it. So when you go to like a manufacturing plant, you learn that has everything to do with how you absorb that stuff. It's all about absorption. So I want stuff that the ingredients are the top quality you can get. There's no junk in them. There's no fillers. And I don't have to take a pound of it because I'm going to absorb what I do take. It absorbs better. So when you reach those 3 platforms in supplements, you're going to get the best out of it. And again, you won't break the bank either, because we meet people all the time that, they bring us stuff in. And there are times I'm like, man, that's made pretty well. Keep taking that. You guys know that. But there's a lot more times I'm like, throw that in the trash, throw that in the trash. That's going to clog you up. It's going to give you that headache you're having, so because it's not made well. And so what I'm going to talk to you about here, these are the 5 daily essentials that are going to help with those deficiencies that we just talked about. And it's going to help our body optimally perform at its best. If we put the right stuff in our body and we're eating well as well, like our body will respond in a great way. It does. You guys have seen this when we made a recommendation for a certain supplement that we think is going to help you, and you've been doing it for a couple of days. You're like, holy cow, I really like this. Like, I can notice a difference. Why? Because of how it's made and because of how you absorb it. That's the name of the game when it comes to this stuff. So I want to talk to you about a couple things. In patients, this will also be good new information because there's been a big change, and you guys have known about this for 2 months since our last workshop. Our office has the same line of supplements, and everything in it, you guys know this, everything's whole food, everything's organic. We source it from around the world. There's no junk or fillers in it. The processing is amazing on this stuff. I've been to the labs in Las Vegas myself. Like it's a grade above pharmaceutical grade laboratories, meaning you can go in there and it is just pristine clean. It is the cleanest facility I've ever seen in my life. They do that. It's just how the stuff is made. But recently, the last year, you've been noticing a new label on a lot of our supplements. It's this label that you're looking at right here. It's called Pure Path. So it doesn't say Max Living. It says Pure Path. It is still Max Living. It's still our brand. The difference in this, though, is that we're now switching from sourcing everything from all over the world to everything is in one location. So in Tennessee, Jordan Rubin has thousands of acres of farmland, and we have teamed up with him over the last year or two, and everything is coming from regenerative farming. So we are there's more more nutrients being put into the soil to enhance the quality and the absorption of the crops being grown. And everything is from seed to the soil to the supplement to you. That is what the Pure Path standard is. So it is a whole another stratosphere on quality and quantity. And it's awesome. And so you're going to see our line, about half of our line is Pure Path. They're going to do all of them like this. That's kind of the news I'm getting, which I'm down for. I think that's great. But so the multivitamin, we have been carrying this for the last month. The old one is no longer. The new one is already here, men and women's, and we have a prenatal as well for those of you that are pregnant or nursing. We got a prenatal that's top notch as well. But so they're tailored. So when you look for a multivitamin, you don't take some rules of thumb here. Don't take gummies for anything. Gummy vitamins, you don't absorb them. They can clog up your stomach. It can make you constipated. They're loaded with sugar. And again, they can't put a lot of stuff in them because the gummy part takes up, all the room. You don't want that. You don't want to be taking like a one a day as well. That is not tailored to a woman or a man. Women and men have different functions. They have different needs. For instance, like what I like about our women's and our men's is that they're tailored to that. For women, you're going to have more of a tailor towards hormone health, stress, anxiety. You're going to have more breast health, reproductive health, just in general. You're going to be you're going to see that trend as well, more towards that. You're also going to see, still complete B complex. Everything's methylated, so you absorb it better. You're going to also see really good qualities of B12 and then folate or folic acid. You'll see really good forms of of iron. You get your daily amount of iron. You get iodine in the women's multi as well for thyroid health. So you get that's already built into that multivitamin. Plus, they have things, they've added some new stuff like maca root to the women's multi. And maca root is going to be more of a adaptogen. So it's really big for like your stress, but for in women in general, has a lot of enhancement to like hormone health. So just helping balance hormones, balance mood. It's tailored, right? It's tailored to ladies. The men's is they've changed this one up a lot. They took out the iodine that the old men's multi have. There's no iodine in the new one. There is a lot more prostate focus on the men's. So there's a lot of nettle, stinging nettle root. There's also saw palmetto. There's also some maca root for guys. Again, hormonal health, more like testosterone focus for guys. The maca root is good for that. But you get your different, tailors to men and women. The men's has a little more D than the women's does. The women's has iodine. The men does not. So it's not just generic. It's what you need as a woman or a man, and that's what I like about them. Plus, on the back, there's no ingredients that are just fillers. Plus, the women's and men's, the old ones were not vegetarian. The new ones are vegan friendly. So pretty cool. That's been a big push with ML. They've been changing a lot of stuff to vegan friendly, not just vegetarian, but full on vegan. The B complex is another one. This just 2 weeks ago, we have the new ones. The old ones are no longer. The new B complex. This one's real similar to the old one as far as the B vitamins. Tit for tat, you get the same full panel B complex. It's delayed release, meaning it's not just going to you're not going to burn it up right away. It's going to delay the release over a couple of hours. So you get a sustained B vitamin, push. And B vitamins are so big with energy. We talked about how people, if you're fatigued, if you are thyroid issues, adrenal issues, or you're just fatigued, you have to have like 5 cups of coffee a day to kind of get through the day. You're depleted of B vitamins, like guaranteed. And instead of doing the energy drinks, instead of doing that stuff, which has all the caffeine in it, and you want B vitamins. Your body loves it. And B vitamins are water soluble. So whatever you don't use, you're going to pee them out. Your pee will be yellow. That's just because you peed out the excess. But B vitamins are awesome. You get the full panel with the new B complex. But this one is the regenerative blend. So the regenerative blend that's in this that is new is you have burdock root and you have beetroot that's added into this. And that's going to be more of a increased circulation and blood flow. And I think the reason they did this is to kind of help absorb this stuff in your bloodstream a lot better. So you feel the effects a little bit faster. So if you, the way I do the B complex, I would do one at lunch. If you're having that 3 p.m. crash when you're at work, or you just like, I could just take a nap right now, take this at lunch with your lunch, and you won't have that. But if you're the 3-4 cup of coffee person, man or woman, I love you. But if you have to do that to kind of get through your day, you should take 2 of these a day. You should take one with breakfast and then one with your lunch, and that'll help you a lot. You want to take so many cups of coffee. I'm not going to tell you to quit all the coffee, but you might have to take the 4 or 5 cups is extreme. Let's be honest. That's a lot of caffeine. But here's where, so I got good news. And there will be good news. I wouldn't say bad news, but I got good news and bad news a little bit here. The individual new Pure Path Omega is not out yet. We currently have this one still, our optimal. This one's a very good one. It's not bad. It's just, again, once there's regenerative farming. But omegas, remember, healthy omega-3 fats are our number one deficiency of Americans. They're the number one. So if we're not putting this in daily, we're deficient. And most of us are. So I'll talk a little bit about the differences. This new one is going to appear on our shelves in probably about 2 months. So we still got a little bit of time before this pops up. But the optimal, again, I use it every day. I like to take my omegas with my dinner. That's how I take them. But you want to take omegas with food. It is an oil-based supplement. And any type of oils can make you a little nauseous on an empty stomach. I'm waving at my daughter's looking at me. But you can any type of oil base, it can upset. They're very potent. So if you take them on an empty stomach, you're going to be nauseous. So don't do that. The other thing with the omegas, the optimal, it's going to be half plant-based, half animal-based. You have board seed, and then you also have rose seed, and you have flaxseed, I think, is in that one as well. But the new one is just straight fish, and it's no plants at all. This is the one that's not vegan or vegetarian. This is all animal based. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But the other thing that's with omega is you get a lot. You get 2,400 milligrams of omega-3 in here, in both. But the difference in the new one, like I said, is it's mostly, well, it's all animal based. But in the optimal omega, the animal base is wild caught. In the omega-3, it's going to be more of anchovy, mackerel, sardine. Now, here's what you're thinking. If you're going, oh, I can't eat that stuff, I can't take that stuff, I'll burp it up, it'll taste like fish. Yes, if you're doing it on an empty stomach, and if you're not doing ours, yes, that will happen. But both of these have, they put essential oils. They put lemon essential oil in each of these. So if you do happen to belch, it's going to be lemony. It's not going to be fishy. So good news. It has made that a lot better. But I will say too, if you take these with your big meal, like dinner, you won't be burping it up. You're going to digest it well. It's just when you do it on an empty stomach, it can it's potent. It's an oil base. I will say this: in our daily essential packs, this omega is actually in the new daily essential packs I'm talking about in the end. That's the good news. You can actually get that stuff today, but the individual one is not out yet. We have to kind of get through, not just me, but all of the doctors. We have to get through the omegas first. So they're thinking it's going to be about 2 months before you can get this individually. I know, a little confusing. Believe me, don't be on my end where I'm having to try to bridge the gap of the confusion. But magnesium, this is another one. The new one's not out yet. It's going to be out in about 2 months. Right now, we have magnesium glycinate. There are differences. This is probably the one that has the biggest difference in them. Now, I love me some magnesium. This is one of my favorite supplements I take. I take it at night as well. Magnesium has so many functions. 300 chemical reactions in your body require magnesium to work. You can get depleted very fast. If you sweat a lot, you'll get low in magnesium if you're not putting it back in your body. If you have a lot of inflammation in your body, a lot of inflammation in your joints or tissues, you need magnesium. It is an electrolyte. It helps relax your muscles. It helps reduce inflammation. It helps your brain function. Magnesium is so big because, so it helps with relaxing your bowel muscles. So it calms down your digestive system. Calms down your heart rate. It's amazing what it does. And we need a lot of it. So our form right now is glycinate. So if you do magnesium, if you've done it before, usually you're going to find it in a citrate form. Citrate is not a optimal form. Citrate upsets your stomach. So you can't take that much of it or you're going to have the runs. Magnesium glycinate your stomach handles it so much better. It doesn't upset your stomach, and you can take a lot more. Like this one has 400 milligrams of magnesium, and you go anywhere near that with citrate, like you're gonna be on the commode the next day. So that's why we switched years ago to glycinate. I love it, and that's all this is pure magnesium glycinate. The difference in this new one, this is the bigger difference. Obviously, the regenerative blends are in this from regenerative farming. There's not as much magnesium in the new one as the current one we have. It's about 200 million, about half the magnesium. And it's not just glycinate. It's 3 forms. It's glycinate, malate, and then I can't think of the third one off the top of my head. But there's 3 different magnesiums. There's a tri-magnesium patent that they use. So what I'm told is that the absorption rate is better. And that's why you don't take quite as much. But they also added in some stuff. They added in Tulsi basil. They add about 75 milligrams of that in there. That's like holy basil. That's going to be what's called a adrenal adaptogen. It helps really calm stress down. Anxiety. It's actually kind of neat how they're combining it with magnesium. So it's going to have a little bit more of a relaxation feeling to you. And then they also added in some cellular health blend. It's about 4 different organic mushroom blends. And so it still ends up being about 400 milligrams, but it's not all magnesium. They've added these 2 regenerative blends in. So I'm excited to take it and try it out myself. It's one of those where I think a lot of people are going to, anytime they tell me it's better absorption, they're on point with it. And it's always, I handle it always better than the previous version. But again, a couple of months till we get that one in. Right now, the glycinate here, I handle it great. Like I said, it's my go-to at night. This is the one, like if I there's only a couple that I would like, desperately want if I had a choice, and it would be obviously magnesium, as I can't go without it. I really, especially doing endurance stuff and running and cycling and, lifting weights and stuff. I'm so less beat up in the morning when I take my magnesium at night. So I love it. Now, here's the good news. I got one more. I got the D3. The D3 probiotics, again, this is one that's not out yet. It'll be about 2 months before you see the individual one. But it's very similar to the one we currently have. It's just regenerative organic, farming. Both still have 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3. Both still have 10 billion strains of Bacillus coagulans probiotic strains. So this is really a 2-for-1. Vitamin D is going to be huge for your immune system. It's huge for your gut health with the probiotics. It helps with the microbiome that's going on there. But the new one is going to have an additional 300 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids in the form of algae. So this vitamin D is going to be completely plant-based, vegan. So is the magnesium too. So kind of cool if you're wanting to, if you're more of a plant-based type of diet, you can still take these things. Now, the best news of all is these are available now. You guys saw them. We just got the women's one last week. The men's we've had for about 3 weeks. They have made this priority. So all the new stuff that I'm talking about, all 5 of those things, you're going to get in these daily essential packs now. So you don't have to wait 2 months to get these. These are on our shelves as we speak. But what's kind of cool about these is that they have, and I talked about these at our Mars and Venus class, they have the individual everyday packets full of all 5 of those supplements. So you don't have to carry around 5 different jars of stuff like I do when I travel. It's one pack, real easy. Just fit it in your pocket. You can take it to work with you, you take it to school, and you have what you need for the day there. You don't have to, put them in a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday bin. It just makes life easy, just a little easy to take to go packet. And it's a month supply for men and women. That's one cool factor. The other cool factor is all of it's the regenerative stuff. You don't have to wait an additional 2 months to get one individual. It's all in here, which I'm glad they did that because this is very popular with patients all across the country. The other thing that's really neat is the price point on this is just amazing. They've gone up about $5 per unit here, but I'm going to tell you, it's how it's made. They've added a lot of new stuff to these things. But I'll tell you, if you went and bought a multi, a B complex, a D3, a magnesium, and an omega, if you bought those 5 things in the office, you're going to spend about $140, $145 for all of that, right? Which is still really good for 5 different things for a month. Because you're not having to get bottles and the manufacturing costs go down doing it this way, this is $115. So you save about $30 by getting this. Same stuff. You're getting this all in an easier to use thing, but you save money. I love that. Also, something that we're doing as well for patients, this is our bundle. It's kind of our bundle for the workshop. We're going to take an additional $5 off of this. So you're going to save a lot of money getting these nutrients into your body on a daily basis. So I think that's pretty cool. And what I'll do here is I'll kind of put this number up here. A couple ways you can get this stuff. So we have 3 groups I'm talking about. The first group, you guys that are actual established patients in my office, I want you to text our office number that's going down here at the bottom of the screen. Text that number if you want to add to your order form we've already placed, or if you want to, if you didn't do that and you just want to make orders on stuff, everything is marked down in our online store. Everything, not just these, but everything else. So there's something you've been waiting on, you can get it on sale. You save the most money that way. Do that. If you are not a patient, if you're a guest and you're like, man, that looks awesome, I want to get my hands on that. call us at this number going down. That way we can not back up all the phone lines. We can help everybody. And again, Brandon and Destiny and Dr. Carter are there to kind of help with everybody. So you can call if you're not a patient, call that number. We will help you. You can give you directions how to pick this stuff up in the office. You get the biggest savings from our office. So if you're in the Fort Worth area, do that. If you're not in the Fort Worth area, if you are in another state, a lot of you are watching from different states. How do you get your hands on this? You go to the online store. So I'm going to pop this up for just one quick second. This is what you do, out-of-towners. Go to my website, drwalldc.com, and then click on the store tab. You can order these online. You can order them online, and then when you do, it'll be delivered to your house. You'll still get savings on the total amount, but you won't get our office in-office like workshop savings. But go to drwalldc.com and click on the store tab. You got the whole online store you can pick from. It's pretty neat. So if you auto ship these, meaning you do like once a month, if you auto ship those, you'll save 5% on every order you do. So it's kind of cool. You can auto ship and save a little bit that way. I think that's pretty neat. And I'll keep the number up there for you guys to do it. Our two plans that really help put these vitamins and minerals in our body regularly. We have a core plan and an advanced plan. The core plan has, this is really just basic nutrition for healthy families, disease prevention, health maintenance, moderate weight loss. You're still going to be focusing on higher fat foods, clean meats. You're going to have very low carbohydrate foods, but you'll still allow some plant-based carbohydrates. And then obviously low sugar. But the advanced plan is what I'm going to really point to, because if you need to get your triglycerides down, if you need to get your arthritic inflammation down, if you have heart disease, if you have hormones way out of balance, if you really need to lose some weight, you do the advanced plan. It is a little bit more strict, but it gives you better results. It's really designed for weight loss resistance. So if you have trouble losing weight, right? If you've done the yo-yo diets, this will help you because it's going to help with hormones being in balance. It's going to help reduce that inflammation. It's going to really, because it does these first two things, you'll see accelerated weight loss. You'll actually see the inches come off first, which is pretty cool. And just really complete health restoration is what we want to shoot for with that. How does it work? Here's that link that you can put in your search engine again. I wanted to give you that again. This is the advanced plan. These are recipes. Since we don't have a book right now, go to this. This is free. You get like 200-300 recipes you have access to. Take a picture of this with your phone, and then when we're done, go look up, browse all those cool recipes. You'll like a bunch of them. I know it. But the advanced plan is very simple. We eliminate our grains because they turn into sugar very fast. They create inflammation. We eliminate the sugars and the fruit. There are some berries you can, in Granny Smith apples, grapefruit, that are very low in sugar. You can still have those, but we're not having a bunch of the pineapples. We're not having a bunch of the things that have very high sugar content, because even the healthy grains can turn into sugar. Protein is we start getting more natural protein sources, not the conventional sources. Grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken, wild fish. And then the fats, we just cut out like an inch of those bad fats and put in the good ones. That's going to be key to the advanced plan. Foods to avoid, we really want to avoid the processed carbs and sugars. So a lot of the baking goods, a lot of the sweets, a lot of the candies, foods that have sugar substitutes like the rainbow of death, I call it, the Splenda, the sucralose, the NutraSweet, the aspartame, sweet and low. They have all different colors. It's just, no, we want like stevia. We want erythritol or xylitol. Foods containing trans fats, again, that's going to be loaded in the processed foods. We just avoid that. The fats, all those oils that are bad, they're rancid. They turn rancid when you heat them up, which makes inflammation in your body. Just the more processed it is, you don't eat it. So we want foods that don't have all the labels on them. But when we do get stuff with labels, we want to pay attention really close to what's in them. It's not so much, we look at a lot the protein, fat, and carbs. That's important. But what we really want to look at are the other ingredients that this thing's made with. You do not want to buy items with the following ingredients on the label. So MSG, monosodium glutamate. They've hidden the name of this into different names. It means the same thing. So you'll see MSG or you'll see monosodium glutamate. They think you don't know that's MSG. They'll put that in there. Hydrolyzed anything. So like hydrolyzed, wheat, autolyzed wheat. Anything after the word hydrolyzed or autolyzed is actually MSG. So just pay attention to that. Now, when you read it, you're like, oh, I recognize that, trying to be slick, trying to pull one over me. That's just garbage for your body. Artificial sweeteners, sucralose is Splenda, aspartame is NutraSweet. So they have their generic names. So pay attention to that stuff. Those aren't good for your brain or your body. People that take a lot of artificial sweeteners they end up gaining a lot of weight versus just having regular sugar. So just this stuff, if you want to never lose weight, eat a lot of diet drinks or diet products or artificial sweeteners. That stuff, you will gain weight. You absolutely will gain weight. Hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated oils, refined flour, additives, colorings like the yellow, blue dye, get that stuff out of you. Preservatives, the chemical. If everything looks like a chemical, that's your rule of thumb. Don't put that in your body. And again, your big why. Think of food as your fuel and for sustenance, not like treats, not like I have to eat. It's like I'm fueling my body to optimally perform. Just like you want the best type of gas for your car, you want the best type of food for your performance, right? Add more healthy, nutrient-dense options. And while you're adding ones, start taking away the bad ones. And it's that addition rule. You're adding in more good stuff. You'll crave it. You'll want more of that than the bad stuff. It's going to be a great thing. Another thing I think is really good is keeping a food journal. This helps a lot, especially when it comes to foods that cause you to get kind of bloated or to get maybe a moody, to have some digestive issues, maybe even get sick. If you notice that when you're making a dietary change, keep a track of it. Like okay, I had rice, at lunch. I've been bloated all day. I feel bad. I don't know. Is it the rice? The next day, maybe try rice again and see if you notice it again. You can start deducing like my body doesn't handle rice very well. And so you kind of pick up on stuff a little bit faster that way. And you'll start wanting the foods that feel good. You feel you're full, but you don't feel stuffed. You don't feel, like you're about to burst your pants. You don't feel bloated like you ate a tire. Like that's really big. And we talk about as far as nutrition goes and how important that is. Neurologically, it's great to be putting these good foods in our body, but what helps our body break the food down? What helps our body digest that food? What helps our body send the nutrients where they need to go in our body? Like what does that? That's your brain and your nervous system. People don't get this. It's something that most nutritionists don't really think of, but it's really, this is what makes you absorb that food and then eliminate the waste. So if you didn't know this is a really good flow chart on your brain and then your digestive system, how you take that food and use the good stuff, get rid of the bad stuff. How does that work? Well, your brain, through your nerve pathways, it sends impulses all the way down to your stomach and your gut, and your small intestines, large intestines, duodenum, all that stuff. Even your throat, your throat, your esophagus, your salivary glands to break down the food. All of that is run by the brain down. So all your gut motility, secretion of enzymes, secretion of saliva to break stuff down, brain does that. It recognizes and it tells your body to secrete that. Isn't that cool? Delivering nutrients to all over your body, your brain runs that through your nerves. And then the actual gut flora, all the good bacteria in your gut, the balance, that is regulated by the brain. It helps the balance of that bacteria. Your gut also, through your nerves, talks to your brain as well and has an impact on that. So your neurotransmitters like your epinephrine, your norepinephrine, your they call them catecholamines, stuff that like excites you or calms you down. Stress and anxiety is controlled by the gut. Like most of your serotonin is made in the gut. That's delivered via your nerves to your brain to be used. So if you eat something that that you don't agree with, you can have anxiety from that. You can be stressed. You can be kind of cranky or moody. If you're not digesting properly, it affects your brain. It absolutely does. It's the serotonin that's made in your gut. That's what's doing that. Your behavior. So people don't know that this is how our body actually works. But this is some research that won Dr. Sperry the Nobel Prize in the 70s. So this guy won the Nobel Prize for brain research on this discovery. He found out that the way that your brain is fed, it's not through omegas. It's not through what you eat. 90% of of the food that your brain gets, nutrition, stimulation of the brain, that is happening only by proper spinal movement. Isn't that crazy? And if you look here, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. I know it's kind of tough. Let me zoom out for just 1 second here. If you zoom in right here, you see the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves coming off of this. This is how our body works. That's how our brain controls our heart, our lungs, our colon, you name it. But something that's, as far as nutrition goes, between each of the bones in your spine, they all have numbers. You have your spinal column. But in between each vertebral segment is a disc. That disc doesn't have a blood supply. The only way your disc get nutrition, so you've heard about degenerative disc, arthritic disc, herniated bulging disc. You've heard about that stuff. The only way your discs stay hydrated and healthy is through proper movement of the spine. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's kind of amazing when I think about it. When it's moving well, your body works well. Your brain is getting its sustenance. Your discs are staying healthy. When you lose the normal movement, that's when things break down. And so, again, the nervous system, for those of you that don't know, it's the foundation of our health. It's what forms us when we're born. It controls all of our function, all of our healing, all of our energy. This is your power supply to your body. Guys, you hear me say your power's on when we adjust you every day. You've heard me say that, I know it. This is your power supply. That's why I say that your power is on when we get that pressure off those nerves. But it's your information superhighway. It's your brain-body connection. So for your heart to beat, for you to breathe air, for you to digest the food you eat, the signals have to go down the brain, down the core, out the nerves. And you have protection on your spinal column. Your skull protects your brain. Your 24 movable spinal bones with a disc in between them protect your spinal cord from damage. But there are holes that come out of the spine. They're holes for these nerves to come out and run to your body because they're long. So your spine has a normal alignment to it for you and me to heal well, to function at our God-given optimal, performance. And normal is, if you look at me from the front, your spine should be straight up and down. We kind of understand that. Hips should be level. But look at this slide here. From the side, we need curves. You need a neck curve, like a C. You need a opposite upper back or thoracic curve, and then you need this lower back lumbar curve. That's normal. That's how we're designed. When you have this design, the spinal cord and the nerves are relaxed. They if you look at this, they're pliable, meaning they can move a lot. They can let me check this out here. There we go. So they have some room, they can move. If you're subluxated, meaning your spine gets stuck out of alignment, and there's a lot of ways this happens. It can be from lifestyle, habits, from your work. It could be from falls, traumas, injuries, you name it. There's a million ways. But when your spine gets stuck out of alignment, the nerves get compressed. They can't fire to the organ that they run or the muscles they run normally. And as time goes on, you start to see things show up, like all of a sudden you're starting to have, you can't turn your neck. You can't turn your lower back. You can't, you're having sciatic pain down a leg, or you're having pain down an arm, or, you're having headaches now. You're having, blood pressure's getting high. Well, think about this with digestion. So a lot of people abuse their backs now because we sit more than we're designed to. Our jobs are more tech-based. So you're sitting at a computer. So you're kind of hunched over on a computer. That is awful for your lower back. And what happens is this lower back curve starts to straighten out. And so many people that have back issues, they start to notice that they bloat a lot when they eat. They don't digest their food very good, and they start having constipation. They don't go to the bathroom like they want to. They're starting to notice that. Well, why is that? Well, these same nerves that run the back and the legs, they look at this, they wrap around and run the colon. So countless times we see people that have they don't digest very well. There's a problem in the nerves. It's a problem with the spine in the lower back. I'm going to show you an example of this because I think this will make some sense to you. This is, I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is actually a patient of mine. These are these x-rays of his back. So we're looking behind him. This is his very first x-ray in our office. We do thorough exam. We do, thermography and x-rays when we find damage to the spine, so we see where this stuff is so we can help somebody. This second x-ray is after about 6 weeks of being adjusted and doing rehab to change his spine to get that pressure off, what the difference is. Now, I want to show you something. Just how to read this real easy. His hips aren't level. His right hip is lower than his left hip. It's really twisted, but it looks lower by 6 degrees. He's got this scoliosis in his back. The yellow line is where he should be, but he is this red, this kind of jigsaw. He's got this 11-degree bend at his lower back. In his middle back, he's got a 6-degree bend. He's got another 6-degree bend in his upper back. Well, the difference here is all these nerves in the lower back were on the colon. And there's something that you're going to see. It's a vast difference between this x-ray and this x-ray. It's all this dark stuff. Do you see all that? This is all poop and gas blockage in this guy's colon. And that's a lot of blockage. You know what? He had absolutely no pain in his back, but he had horrible IBS. He had horrible bloating, and it hurt. Like he would take stuff to try to help with the pain and take stuff to go to the bathroom for years. And his wife was a patient. His wife's like, can you check my spouse? Because I hear you talk. I think there's something going on with his digestive system, but I think the nerves might be, we've never looked at it. And so we did an exam and saw that. Well, he saw that and he's like, okay, I need to do something about this. So we, in our office, we based on x-rays, are very cautious. We adjust, we do rehab to work on straightening him up from behind. This is a post x-ray at about 6 weeks. So it didn't happen overnight, but he moved a lot. He did his rehab every day at the house. He got adjusted, didn't miss. Hips were within 2 degrees instead of 6, so they lined up a bunch, a lot of pressure off the sciatic nerves there. But check this, it went from 11 degrees down to 3, so he almost straightened up entirely there. His upper back straightened up a lot as well, and because all that pressure was taken off his nerves, guess what? What do you see a lot less of in his back? You see a lot less of the bowel buildup. And I tell you, this guy, he was so excited because he stopped having to take all the laxatives and all the medications to go to the restroom. He was able to wean off of all that. He was able to eat foods that would block him up in the past. He's able to eat them again and be fine because his nervous system was working better, and we got to the root cause. So pretty cool stuff, I thought. And that's what we do. Those of you that are patients, you guys know we are always about helping others and making sure that people don't walk around their whole life with damaged spines and problems with their nerves and health problems because they never thought to check it. We always talk about it when we talk about any topic because it relates to everything, but especially the way you digest your food, nutrition. But there are warning signs that you have damage to your nerves. We call them subluxations. You might not know about it, but asthma, headaches, cycle issues, ladies, that is a huge red flag for your lower back and your hips. Digestive issues, blood pressure, you get sick all the time, depression, insomnia, numbness, tingling, neck pain, dizziness, fatigue, reflux, and low back issues. There's plenty more. These are the most common symptoms people come into our office present with. But if this is you and you're not a patient and you're dealing with one or two or all of these, I want to provide this for you here. I want you to call our number. You can schedule a nervous system exam in our office. Whoops, let me pop that back up here. Lost you there for a second. There we go. There we go. Hi, back. But we want to invite you into the office to have this done. Typically having exam x-rays in our office, it's $105 to have full workup done. That includes x-rays, which is very minimal considering to how much x-rays are at a hospital. But we actually want to honor you guys for being on the time with us in this call. We are going to offer that complimentary to you if you call that number today. If you're watching this a little bit later on Saturday, August the 10th, you can still take advantage of this, but it is for today only. We will do a complimentary exam with you, and we'll schedule that for you in our office this upcoming week. So school hadn't quite started yet, so we got some time here to get you set up. And again, we'll take great care of you. If you have questions, you probably do, call that number, 817-886-7545, and you'll get Destiny or Brandon on the phone. They'll help you with the questions that you have, and they'll get you settled up, and they'll send out, some patient paperwork to fill out ahead of time. But when you come in, even if we have x-rays, we won't charge for that. That is our gift to you for being part of this workshop. So I'll keep that up here for a little bit. We'll kind of go to the next slide here, which is really our Q&A slide. So I'm excited about this. I think we're going to have some questions here. Let me pop up here, and we'll do a little Q&A time here. So lots of fun. Let me go. Ooh, we had a lot of comments here. Let me see here. What are we doing? Man, there's a lot of you watching. That's so pretty cool. All right, Miss Vicky, that's your first timer. I know that. Just started with us. That's so cool. Nice. We had so many people watching this. Okay, so if you have questions, I want you to put them in the comment section. Ask us questions. That's really big. We want you to ask them because we know there's questions on nutrition. Anything that I talked about, please do that. I love this. I've made that sweet tea comment. Yes. Love sweet tea. My family put about 3/4 the bag. Yes. If you're from the South, that's what you're used to. So thank goodness for stevia, because it is a saving grace for me. Yeah, Mr. Howell. Yeah, Bill. Yeah. Oh no, you switched to unsweet tea. Well, you have the advantage. I didn't get that. I didn't get that luxury. It was all sweet in our house. Okay, so Renee, you had a real good question about what's in the daily essentials. It's the 5 things that I spoke of individually. It's men or women's multivitamin. It's the B complex. It's the omega. These are all the new stuff. The new Pure Path Omega-3. It is the magnesium formula, the multi-magnesium, and it's also the D3 probiotics. So you get all 5 of those. So in your little packet, you're going to have 30 packets, because it's a 30-day supply for a man or for a woman, depending on which one you get. But you're going to have 2 of the multivitamins. Okay. If it was me, take that with your lunch. You're going to have a B complex. You can take that, with your lunch as well. You're going to have 2 omega capsules. Take that with your dinner. You're going to have, which one? Oh, you're going to have your magnesium. You're going to get 2 capsules of magnesium. Take that at night. And then what's one? I forget one. Oh, your D3. You can take that right in the morning. Your D3 probiotics. So you're going to get all of that in one packet. You get 30 packets. So it's pretty cool. You get a 30-day supply. You can travel with them. Like, it is awesome on how that stuff is set up. So this Miss Robin, so good. I'm so glad you're on the call in the class. So she's got a real good question. So if your primary care doctor put you on a statin for cholesterol, how high should your cholesterol be on a normal level? So the range, and again, this is where the stuff that I've been reading about lately, a huge difference. I would do this. Don't worry so much about your total cholesterol. It could be over 200. They freak out when it's over 200. It could be 210, 220, 250. The numbers that matter most is your triglycerides. They need to be as low as you can get them. If your triglycerides are high, then you do need to be concerned. But again, the statin isn't going to drop your triglycerides. The statin is really to drop LDL. That's what it's designed to do. But when you just drop LDL cholesterol, now your tissue repair mechanism is compromised. You don't repair the tissue as much. It doesn't really have that good of an effect. Matter of fact, statins, I would go on. If it was me, I can't tell you to like legally get off of it, but if it was me, I'll tell you this: statins, the Cochrane collaboration of doctors, which analyze good, bad they'll tell you if this medication is actually beneficial or not to you. When they've looked at the thousands of studies on statins, they have determined that there is no benefit for statins. Back in 2008, there was a time magazine article on statins that says, do statins do any good? The answer is a resounding no. Long term, they don't. You can diet yourself and exercise yourself better than the statins, in my opinion. So if your cholesterol is high, really focus on triglycerides and HDL. And if you can get to where, if you could do the advanced plan, do it for 90 days, where that is high fat, that is a good amount of protein, that's very low carb and low sugar, you will see your triglycerides go down a lot. Your HDL will go up a lot in response. And your LDL will come down some as well, because you're not as inflamed doing that. That will make some major change, but you give yourself 3 months. Do it for 90 days, advanced plan. You'll see change with that. Okay, that's going to be big. And we'll talk more in the office with that. I know that's a great question. Oh, good. Somebody's very first time. I love that. I love when you guys are on for the first time. That's pretty cool. So glad that you're here, Miss Becky. We love having you on. Welcome to the family. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Miss Renee, you got some good questions, girl. Okay, so mind explaining all the different fats that are on the labels, polysaturated fats compared to monosaturated fats, which ones are bad. When it comes to that stuff, I always look at what are the ingredients in it. So where are those polysaturated fats coming from in the mono? So usually I would say the mono would be the better choice. With me, to take some of that guesswork away, I would look at, are these saturated fats? Are they coming from like avocado? Are they coming from coconut? Are they coming from butter? Are they coming from a nut butter? Those are going to be totally fine saturated fats. If you are, or beef, healthy meats, healthy dairy, healthy cheeses. That's what I focus on so much. I don't focus so much on the poly or the mono saturated fat, because those aren't that bad. The unsaturated fat, that's the stuff that I would worry about. I would worry about the hydrogenated fats, the synthetic, like the margarines, the synthetic butters. That's the type of stuff that I would really worry about and not put in my body. But anything from like, nut butters or avocados, like I said, coconuts, avocado oils, that type of stuff, you're fine with that. You cook with that stuff, you're going to be great. Anything that, even on the other end, when it comes to maybe a animal-based fat like lard or even beef tallow, like I've never cooked with beef tallow in my life. I've always cooked with like coconut oil or avocado oil, but lately I've been adding a lot of beef tallow to what I'm grilling and what I'm cooking. And it's been amazing, so it's very high in saturated fat, but again, your body knows how to handle that stuff. It's designed to take that in. It's designed to convert it to energy. It's designed to convert it to, your cells and your fat layers. And, you need it. It's kind of neat. Your hormones come from fat. So saturated fat is going to be very helpful for your hormones. So the more that we are taking in, the better it is. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. So like if you're having, like a piece of salmon, that's going to be, so add grass-fed butter to it, add beef tallow to it, to the top of it. And it's going to make it taste better anyways. So you're going to get your fat and you're going to get your healthy protein and healthy omegas that way. So hopefully that helps answer the question. Don't focus so much on the different verbatim verbiage. Focus on the source. Like I said, if you got the coconut stuff, you got the avocados, you got the flax, you got the nut butters, you're going to get the healthier fats that way. Oh, yes. Yeah. Statins do make a lot of people feel horrible, because just that there's so many side effects of statins. That's the problematic part of them. If you look at the physician's side effects of statins, there's about 20 something pages of side effects. And so anything that can happen to you can happen to you. It's been shown, which is why I always advocate for changing your lifestyle. That cholesterol will come down, but don't worry so much if your triglycerides drop, if your HDL goes up and your LDL comes down. If the total cholesterol is still above 200, do not panic about that. the more I'm reading, that is not the thing you want to look at anymore. It is triglycerides and HDL. That is the big stuff. So hopefully that kind of calms some people down that are on statins to not be so worried about it. But yeah, we had so many people on here. Miss Blanca, good to see you. Mr. John, so glad you're always on, buddy. I love that, man. Oh, Miss Monica, great to see you. Miss Mary, yes. Miss Lisa, love it. Holy cow, Miss Tina Moreno. I'm so glad you're watching. That is great. It's been a minute. That's awesome. Susan, yes, Miss Susan Brady, you're watching. Great. This is awesome. Like I said, it's so good to see all you guys here. If you have any more questions, my email is gatewaydc@gmail.com. You can always ask questions. And I know we went over a little bit, and I really appreciate you guys staying with me. So a lot of you are watching. So we love you guys. Take advantage of that. Like I said, we're so excited about the changes that are happening here in the office. And for those of you that are wanting to come in and be patients, we're excited to have you, and we'll get to meet you next week. But hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy a little bit of Olympics left. We can watch the marathons. I got to go watch who won the guys marathon because that's kind of my jam. So hope you guys have a great weekend. Love you guys. God bless you. Have a good day. Okay.